all day. um,
Nice.
okay, here we go. So, welcome everyone.
Thank you.
So today we have to discuss about the case study we did, and what it was about and what our thoughts were about it. But does anyone want to give like a brief overview of what it was about? Or do you want me to?
I'm just trying to remember which case study this one is because I have a
I'll
couple
go.
different ones.
I'll go ahead and do it. So
All right.
this case study was basically about three people.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Their last names, I don't remember the first name.
Davis, McDonald.
Green, McDonald, and Davis, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so Green just got promoted by McDonald to work under Davis, and Davis was the marketing director for this company. And it seemed like from the get-go that Davis didn't want Green there. And it's just like the problems throughout the whole process and like trying to see who's right, who's wrong, and that whole thing.
Perfect.
That's a very brief summary for you.
Exactly. Yeah, it seemed like there's a lot of conflict, a lot of miscommunication.
Mm-hmm.
So, perfect. So, let's just do some analysis. What do you think was the key issue in this case study? Like, what was the main problem or the main catalyst to the issue?
Davis is pretty by the book and kind of a perfectionist, wanted things done the way he wanted them to. Whereas Green was more of kind of like go with the flow, kind of in a sense. So where he did what he wanted and got things done the way he wanted to and found success from previous sales jobs.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like really true. Like they're both kind of opposite in their way, like they worked, you know?
Yeah.
I really saw that, like, Dave, what was it? Green didn't really want to, like, compromise, and neither did, like, Davis. They're both kind of, like, really set on their work styles and, like, didn't see eye to eye and didn't really, like, try to see eye to eye is what I really felt like was happening.
Totally.
A lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that they were both really successful. Like, it never once talks about, like, Green not being Davis thinks he's not a productive employee, but before he got the promotion, he was like one of the best people, and that's why he got the promotion. So they're both very strong employees. They just really don't mesh together.
But I wonder what the reason why they don't mesh together is, because it seemed like from the beginning, Davis was out to get Green fired. He just was nitpicky and didn't.
Well, part of that's because I think he felt like almost like a violation because he didn't actually get to pick Green as his associate. He was given Green by his superior. And so right there, when it talks about that, I knew immediately. I was like, oh, he's not going to be happy about that because, now he definitely feels like there's someone on his team that he has, no
connection.
Connection with or anything. And then I kind of noticed that they both kind of felt that tension. And even what's her name, McDonald?
Yeah, McDonald.
Even she was like, yeah, you're kind of being thrown into a bad situation here. Make the best of it. There was no like, oh, hey, well, this whole situation's gonna suck, but let's try and work it out. There was just like, oh, well, we'll just go to work. Cool.
Yeah, like I don't understand what McDonald was thinking doing that. Like that, I don't think that was a good choice at all.
Going back to your question, Chad, another reason. So didn't Green take over Davis's position? Wasn't that Davis's position before?
Yes.
So I think in the case study, Davis expects people to work for the company longer. I think it was at least 3 years. So she didn't, or he, whoever it was, I don't know, didn't think that Green had the experience in the company to get that position, having just been there, getting hired right into that position, first time working for that company.
Yeah.
I think a little spite came in with that.
Yeah,
Didn't think he deserved it.
totally.
Yeah. I don't know. I think also, Davis almost kind of felt attacked by Green. You know, you kind of have like this young guy go in to take his old job, and then also he starts going in and like ridiculing like the numbers that he was trying to go for and like the goals he had for the company, and then
Yeah.
it was just like a whole bunch of stuff kind of just mounted.
Do you think? I think you said you used the word attacked, but do you think by that you mean like intimidated?
Yeah, or like threatened, not necessarily
Okay.
attacked, but just like threatened. It's
Okay.
probably a better word.
Yeah.
And so like he felt threatened, and then he thinks like his boss, McDonald, is kind of like trying to get this kid to move up higher than him, and then I don't know. I think he could just start overthinking. It could have been a whole combination of things, you know.
Yeah.
That could have led to that big issue. But how do you think Thomas's actions were different than Frank's expectations?
Who's Thomas and who's Frank?
Thomas Green and Frank
Yeah.
Davis.
Okay.
Well, so one big thing is Green was way more like fly by the seat of his pants, like talking up and talking about things, than he was like actually creating the plans and the spreadsheets and all this kind of stuff. And Davis, the other guy, was more like, let's have all these spreadsheets and all this data and all this other kind of stuff like that, so that way we can, you know, have that to show what it is that's going on instead of just talking about it.
Yeah.
And that was a huge difference between the two of them.
I think there could have been a lot of potential for these two to get together and really make some big moves within the company, because you had Davis, who was a marketing genius, obviously knew
Right.
how to read spreadsheets and provide the numbers and everything. And then you have Green, who's a salesman, obviously one of the top ones. And if they would have just combined their two talents together, they really could have been an awesome team if they like went to clients and talked to them and had the numbers along with the sales pitch to back it up, you know. And so I really think they both were pretty stubborn and not humble enough to accept the fact that they're in a pretty crappy situation and just kind of put their differences aside and work together. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Definitely.
exactly.
So I think they were, like I said, they're both they're just stubborn throughout the whole thing.
So would you say like who's most at fault is both of them, or does one take the blame more than the other?
I think both of them are
Yeah.
kind of at fault. I mean, you have Davis, who is in a higher position, and so you kind of expect a little bit more professionalism out of him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like he's ran through the company, he's gained up the ranks, so he should be professional, even working with people that he doesn't necessarily like Green. He should be aware of how he connects with people. But then at the same time, you have Green, who really doesn't know that much about managerial anything. And I think that's kind of to blame with McDonald. McDonald, kind of like how we talked, just threw him in this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's really hard to throw a manager to be a manager if they've never been a manager before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was no training. There was no transition period. There was no how do you manage like conflicts? How do you?
Oh, hold on. There was like a little 2-week period where she expected him to learn everything.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah.
But I think it was all three of their faults. Less McDonald, because she's kind of boss and what she says. Like, not to say that she's perfect,
No,
Yeah.
obviously.
but you kind of expect the under employees to just work with McDonald. Kind of sense that Davis should kind of just grown up a little bit. Same with Green, though. I think they both showed a lack of professionalism with that.
I feel like she just assumed that even if they didn't completely get along, they would be able to work out their differences, like, you know, grown men should be able to do in a professional business situation. Like,
Yeah.
you would have thought that Davis and Green, even though Davis was pissed that Green was being put in there and everything. They could have at least sat down, been like, okay, like Davis goes, okay, I know you weren't what I wanted, and you can probably obviously tell that I'm upset that you were promoted without, much of my say so in the matter or whatever. But let's make the best out of this. Let's, sit down, hash this out, get everything figured out, and, we'll just go from there, type thing, instead of just basically both acting like children and throwing a temper tantrum and just kind of doing what they want to do.
Yeah, exactly.
And kind of like look at the toxicity is that between like what kind of resulted from Davis. I put a little bit more blame on Davis than Green. But you go into all these performance reviews and it's just nothing positive. All he does
I know.
Battered. Whether it's
2 hours
right
worth
about that or not. But that doesn't create a good culture between them. It's creating this rift. And then so I don't really – because I probably would have done what Green. I probably would have started avoiding him. And to be honest,
Right.
as much as we want to be better, I can understand where Green's coming from. So I put a little bit more blame on Davis.
Yeah. And let's kind of follow what you just said. You said you'd probably do the same thing as Thomas Green. But, like, what would you guys do if you were Thomas Green in that situation? Would you guys do what he did, or what would you try to do?
Technically, Davis is Green's superior. So the things that Davis, what's the word? I guess expected of Green, he should have done. Because if it's your boss, you're supposed to do what your boss tells you to do. Because that's his job. It's your job as well. So if I was Green, I would have listened to him, learn how to make spreadsheets and charts and, update my Outlook and calendar and all that stuff. But they weren't like hard things to do. He just didn't see the need of it because he's pretty stubborn. He thought his ways were the best way of doing things.
Yeah. I would have definitely had a talking to someone about, because Davis went and reamed him for 2+ hours of just literally day-to-day stuff that he was doing wrong. Like, I understand if it was like a 30-minute thing where you just sit down and he goes over a few things, but for doing 2 hours worth, that is kind of extreme. And I totally agree. Like, he should have taken stuff that Davis said and he should have applied them and fixed them and everything. But I think that there's a limit to where you're correcting someone on things that they need to improve on, and then you're just trying to take it out on them. And the way that they explained it, I kind of felt like Davis was purposely trying to just absolutely destroy Green and what he was doing, to the point where Green would have been like, I can't handle this anymore. I'm gonna step down, or I'm gonna quit, or whatever, which is kind of how it seemed to be at the end of the article.
Yeah, definitely. And so how does power and office politics come into play with basically this whole situation, like how they were acting? So I think the main consensus is that yes, Thomas should have kind of complied, but should he just complied just because of the office politics, or because of the whole hierarchy of the boss situation, or what do you guys think?
That's a good question.
Yeah, that's a great one. I think obviously everyone plays a role, and you're assigned certain roles in a company because you know how to do certain things, or there's potential in you. And I do think that he should, like Colin said, he should have just done what his boss said, even though his boss might have been micromanaging him at the time. I mean, I feel like it's always better to kill someone with kindness than to rebel against them and not do what they ask, Like, imagine, I wonder what would have happened if Green just would have done everything to the T that his boss asked him to do. What would have been the result then?
Yeah.
Instead of like, oh, I just thought you were managing me. I'm not going to look at my calendar. I'm not going to update you, or I'm not going to bring spreadsheets, or whatever it was, I would so rather do that. And especially in the corporate setting, you want to be like, I don't know what the right phrase to word it is, but you want to be like doing your best, you know, and kind of, I don't know what, but yeah, you guys know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we got you.
So
I
that's
think,
my opinion. Go ahead.
I think everyone's going to work for different types of managers. I mean, that's a given.
Yeah.
So studying HR, who HR reports to, we don't have a officer position. We just have director. And who the director reports to changes all the time. So sometimes we'll report to like the CFO. And then all of a sudden our objectives are more money based. And then sometimes we'll like report to COO. And then it's a lot more like innovative, where we have the money and we have like, we want results, more innovative results. So I think it just depends. Like, and to some degree, I think politics has its place in business. I think it's kind of, I don't know, not to say fun, but it's there and we have to address it. But at the same time, I think Green kind of could have just said like, okay, I'm going to take this as a learning opportunity and be like, that's not the manager that I want to be like.
Okay.
Yeah.
He could have kind of like dealt with it, because I've worked with managers I don't like. I think we all have, but at the same time, I'm not necessarily wrong, so I don't get mad at them. I just realize that things they do that I don't like and I don't want to do as a manager.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good
Nice.
point.
I don't know, it's hard to answer about politics, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
politics, it's such a broad term.
Yeah.
And each dynamic is completely different too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But I do think that politics allow for within a company for like some competition and for people to try and do better, you know? So I think that obviously they're necessary, and but they can get kind of dangerous sometimes. But I mean, thinking back to like high school when I played football, there was so many, you know,
Yeah.
parents getting involved in politics and everything, but it made me want to do better, you know? And so
Yeah.
I think they're necessary for sure.
Yeah. It's sometimes it comes off kind of like, I feel like the main problem that Green had was that he thought it was more like, you know, the term brown nosing, you know, just like really trying to get buddy and good with the bosses.
Yeah.
So like make the Excel sheets, make the PowerPoints, you know. But in reality, it's like actually helpful, and you know,
Exactly.
it is like, you don't want to say like politics are involved, but like they are, and they're always going to be involved. So we kind of just have to adapt to that.
Yeah.
You know, I kind of wonder if that's what Davis was thinking, was that Green had, you know, been brown nosing and stuff so well, for lack of a better term, that he was able to get that promotion when he really didn't deserve it. And so I kind of feel like maybe that was part of the reason why he was, you know, acting the way he was because he just, you know, assumed that this guy really didn't know what he was doing and just was, you know, trying to work the room basically to see how high he could get off of not really doing a whole lot of work, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. And oh yeah, go ahead.
Like, I don't know, I just keep on seeing this theme, like no one really talked about anything to anyone.
Yeah.
Like I kind of wonder, like, how hard would it be for Davis to go to McDonald's and be like, why did you hire this guy? Like, what do you see in him? Like, you know, what qualifications did you have? Or, for example, like, or Green could be like, you know, why do you want me this? Instead of just accepting face value. You know, it's never bad to give the why, because typically the why allows people to understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
And so I just felt like there was never that understanding of each other. It was all these like orders or all these not doing whatever, but no one was really understanding why anyone was not doing or not understanding each other. Like, I can't help.
No, that makes sense.
How hard would it have been to just have a conversation?
Absolutely.
Why do you want me to do this? Or, you know, what's your reasoning behind it? Or
Yeah, and that kind of makes me like, you think about it, and it's like the way they attempted the conflict, you know. There's like when there's conflict, either you like avoid it, or you try to compromise, or you try to like outdo one another, or you work together, you know. Like when there's that type of conflict, and it just seemed like they just chose to avoid it as much as they could and like not solve anything. And when they really should have just came together and discussed and try to find a way to overcome this conflict they're having between one another.
Yeah.
But what could they
I
do?
agree.
What could they do to salvage the situation? Like, do they need to compromise? Do they need to work together? Should they just keep avoiding? You know.
I think it's a lot of it a lot of the responsibility is on McDonald, and yeah, I think it's McDonald's where she needs to, the Davis and Green need to approach her and talk to her and ask her, what's the deal here? What was the whole point of this? Like McCall?
Michael.
Is that how you say it?
Yeah.
My bad. Michael. Like Michael was saying, there just needs to be some communication going on.
Yeah. Honestly, if I was in McDonald's position, I would honestly pull them both in the room and just be like, okay, we are going to sit down. You two are going to stop bickering and we're going to talk this out. And then, like, I would pretty much, even if I have to spend like 2 hours on it, I would sit there and I'd, get them to figure things out. And then I'd be like, I don't want to hear any more out of this.
Yeah.
Unless it's like a dire emergency or something. Like, you guys are adults. You should be able to, work this out together as adults,
Exactly. What could they do to salvage their relationship between the both of them? What could Davis do, and what could Green do? To somehow mend the heart feelings, kind of like the bad taste. What could happen?
I think going off of what Colin said, I think Green could just be a little bit obedient. Like, it's a turbulent time, and there's nothing wrong with obedience when it's saving a relationship, I feel. And then when it gets to that better position, then they can hash out the problems. But right now, they just hate each other so much. And it's like, someone's got to give. Someone's got to do something for the other person.
Yeah.
So I think if Green was just a little bit more obedient, get to that higher place where they can have that more constructive conversation, where Davis might respect Green a little bit more.
Yeah, because like Colin said, a lot of the things that Davis is asking for isn't really that hard. It's really not that hard to, when you're sitting there in, like, I don't know, let's say New York, update your schedule and say, hey, met with this person, and this person, ended early because ran out of, stuff to talk about or whatever. I'm going to Atlanta now to go talk to, whoever the heck the people were that he was going to go talk to,
Yeah.
Or even just making spreadsheets. It is so easy to just make a spreadsheet in Excel. Like, it takes maybe an hour to make like a really integral one.
Yeah.
Like
spreadsheet analysis class.
Yeah.
PT15.
15.
That was
Accounting
a freaking great
333.
class.
Accounting 330.
Accounting 201. You're right.
Yeah.
If you guys are complaining about accounting 201 and 202, you should get to the real good big boy accounting classes.
Oh, I'm good.
I'm done with
good.
accounting.
201 and 202
I
is
hate
all I
Get
can do.
that.
Y'all suck.
Seriously.
I'm an accounting major, so there you go.
Yeah, that's a special mind right there.
Right.
Anyways, but yeah, what you're saying, there's a way, obviously he could have made the spreadsheets, could have, seriously, it just was kind of simple things, and maybe if he didn't want to comply with one, he could have talked and be like, hey, I find it really hard for me to just to like sit down and update where I'm going every second on Outlook. He's like, if you really need to get like hold of me, just send me a text, but I'll try to keep it as updated as possible, Like there's obviously like things where like he should comply, but like there's other places where there's some leeway.
Yeah, I didn't really understand that. Like, how did he not have his personal information?
Yeah, that one I don't know. You would
Like,
think
he had to call the secretary to get a hold of him? Like, maybe I don't understand the position dynamics or levels.
I don't know.
But, like, I have all my coworker and I have all my underworker numbers. Like,
This might have been like the 90s, but we didn't have that technology.
oh, that's true. they had to send a.
Well, it was 2008.
Oh, was it 2008?
It was like 2007 through
It's like, what, the
2008.
Telegraph, right?
Telegraph.
But no, I think Davis could have I think the part that I really didn't like about Davis and I got a sour taste was when Green did explain why he wasn't where he was. Like, it was a very good reason. Like, they ran out of stuff to talk about, so he had the opportunity to go talk to a higher up executive
someplace else.
And I think Davis should have recognized that, like, okay, like, yes, this is a minor thing and I want you to do this, but that's a pretty good reason. So congrats on that, but make sure that you're continuously updating your because he, like, Davis kind of not attacked him, but, you know, like, went off at him even for meeting with a really good person. Like, I don't feel like really endorses a good behavior.
Yeah.
So I think Davis could listen a little bit more, just as Green could be a little bit more obedient.
Exactly. There was some, you know, give and take on both sides to better things, and it just wasn't, you know, happening. So now we have some application type of questions here. One of them is called, how can managing up be applied at work?
Sorry, what?
Wait, what?
How can managing up be applied at work?
Managing up?
Was that like the reading?
Quotation marks. Managing up. Might be the reading that we did.
I don't remember anything.
Yeah, no.
I don't remember that from the reading.
I don't know. I was hoping maybe one of you guys would know what it was.
No idea.
I can Google it real quick.
Yeah, we can Google it. I remember like reading about like last week in the reading, it's talking about like, you know, like divvying up things and like organization and stuff like that. Like this week, I don't.
Google, it says being the most effective employee you can, creating value for your boss and your company.
So I was gonna think it was something like helping make something like not managing below you, but like upwards. I don't know, but I guess yeah. Let's just go off of that. How can managing up be applied for what Colin said?
Well, I think, especially with corporate jobs, you should never settle. You know, you should always be trying to look forward to your next promotion. And so, you know, if we're basing it off of that definition, it means being the most effective employee you can be. Obviously, you know, you should want to be able to take your boss's job. You know, like that should be a drive within you, especially if you're going, you know, into corporate type of business where you do have to work up the ladder and you do have to brown nose and, you know, do all this like time consuming minuscule stuff in the beginning, but in the end it'll pay off, you know, and your managers and your bosses will see that and it'll help them out, you know, and it'll help you out also in the long run.
Exactly. Yeah, just basically, you know, the best relationship you can make with your bosses if you just do your job well, you know.
Yeah.
Then what are the principles of power within an organizational structure?
What are some principles of power?
What are the principles of power within an organizational structure? It's very specific.
Do some reading that he didn't give us.
I don't know. I'm looking through the articles that we had, and I'm not even seeing that stuff in here.
Is it in
the book?
I don't think it was in the book. The book's more like personal stuff.
I read the pages of the book. But
what book is it again?
7 Habits.
7 Habits of
That's right,
Being a Successful Person.
I don't think it was.
I still don't understand that book.
I skimmed and read part of it today while at work.
I just think we can. I think when I read this, where it says principles of power, I think it's just like basically, I don't know, maybe where the power comes from and like how it's applied. So I think what we could see just from the case study is that like the principle of power of like Davis trying to micromanage Green was like just a terrible misuse of power. So like the principle of power would be like being just, but also, you know, understanding and like adjusting and being able to compromise and adjust while still applying, you know, that, hey, I'm your leader, you need to like do what you need to do. It's kind of like a sense of, how can I explain it? It's hard to explain. It's just like a sense of that there is power, but there's also a sense of respect, I would say. Like the principle of power should be respect.
So like Davis should respect McDonald's decision for hiring Green because obviously she saw something in Green, and instead of Davis getting so upset the way he did, he should respect her decision and work with Green to, you know, make him the best that he can be. Or
Yeah.
like,
And then
okay.
Green could be respectful to.
And then yeah.
I think to some degree McDonald exercised too much power though at the same time when she didn't consult with Davis. Like this is Davis's branch, or these are his people. Like McDonald technically manages Green, but not directly. Davis manages Green. And so I think McDonald had an overstep in power there. The fact that she didn't consult at all.
And that makes it hard for Davis to respect her decision when she overstepped. So there is a balance that needs to be found there, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. How do office politics come into play in many organizations?
How does what?
How do office politics come into play in many organizations? I think we talked about this earlier.
Yeah, I'd say we already kind of Yeah.
How can someone be proactive in managing office politics, power, and conflict, and other things, etc.?
Sorry, wait, one more time.
Yeah, these questions are, how can someone be proactive in managing office politics, power, conflict, etc.?
Like an hour of sleep, y'all. I don't know.
I think it's just.
I think. Go ahead. Yeah,
no, you got
what I was going to say was, I think it just comes down to being a good person. I mean, politics are going to be there. People are going to make you upset. You're not going to get your way a lot of the times, but just do what's right. Do your job, and that's how you can manage office politics, power, and whatever that other one was effectively. Just be a good person.
Yeah.
I like it.
I agree.
Be aware of how they affect you. Like some people play the politic game and that's all they're in business for.
Totally.
I think that's wrong. I think there's a balance, and I think knowing how each one makes you react. It's like when I see people brown nosing, honestly, I think it's disgusting. Like, I just think it's really annoying. I can tell that that's what they're doing, and so it shakes me the wrong way, and I don't want to work with those people. And I think being aware of that fact and how these different types of politics affect you and your work and your relationship with others.
Perfect.
Yep.
I like it.
Let's go for some connections here. It says, what gospel connections are pertinent?
Gospel?
I didn't do that. My bad.
I don't know. I guess like one thing I could see is like, we should just do our best in the gospel as well. And like, there's like people that like want to be leaders or like want to like be bishop or stuff like that. And like the best way to do it isn't just to like be fake about it, or like it's just like actually try to do what's right.
Yeah.
And like be a good person. And like maybe that will happen. But like you get responsibility for doing what's right.
It reminds me of the mission where you had those guys who were like determined to be APs or zone leaders.
Right.
That's all they would do anything to do that, and
so dumb.
And it's like, just do your best no matter what position you're in,
Exactly. Just do your best.
Yeah.
Those are always entertaining people.
Yes.
Weren't you one of those?
I was one of those. I speak from experience.
Oh, man.
No, the worst were the sister training leaders, right?
Oh, my.
Yeah,
I never had to deal with any of them, thankfully. So.
I dated a former sister training leader. Oof.
I heard that they were special people.
Yeah, they were definitely special people.
Missions, I have no idea what y'all are talking about.
I was like, that all got introduced like the last like couple months of my mission, and so we never actually dealt with it. At least me and my companions.
Yeah.
So I don't know what they were like.
Oh, I had them for sure.
You were just like woman in the priest that thought they had the opposite thing.
All right.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah. Were there any connections between the case study and this week's reading assignment? If so, what were they?
I mean, probably. You wouldn't have given it to us to read if there wasn't.
So I would say that
I'm really tired, y'all.
the connections were because like the reading assignment was all about how each person's kind of like an emotional bank account, and there's like positive and negative things that you do in and around them to do like as they called it, withdrawals or deposits. At least that's as much as I understood from it. I kind of glazed over some of it. And I mean, I can kind of see the relation there and how like during certain situations there was definitely, well, mostly like what they would call withdrawals, because it was like there was always like there was a bunch of negatives. There was like always negatives in that article, like always something negative that either one or the other was pointing at each other. And so the more that happened, the more they started feeling, or sorry, let me rephrase that. The more that they kept doing it, the more negative they were towards each other. And how the only way to break that is to just force yourself to be more positive towards the other person. And eventually, even if you don't necessarily like the person, there will be enough positive near the end of their time around each other, whatever, that they'll be able to work effectively and be able to do things effectively and all that kind of stuff. And maybe eventually they can become friends or something. I don't know, but like that's at least what I kind of got out of the reading, at least the part of the reading that I read before I glazed out.
I was doing it at like 5:30 in the morning. So
Yeah, I got nothing. No.
I think in that article that we had to read, query and the advocacy, and I think they didn't know how to balance the two. I think they talk about they're both appropriate in certain situations, but I think Green and Davis were always like all about advocacy. Their way had to be right. What they were doing was the best way. And there was no inquiry on what they were actually doing.
Yeah, exactly.
I like it.
Yeah.
It's just, there's got to be balance. We got to do the best to, obviously try to be on good terms with people, and to really like try to see, for mostly everything that I read, what I understood was that we have to just look at other perspectives, and understand both sides.
Yeah.
And to end, there's the rest of it says the share Thomas Green the rest of the story with your group. So this actually goes with the reading, and this is what actually happens. So you know how it ends. He's just like Nacho is going to send back to his boss, McDonald. So this is what he does. After McDonald's February 5th, 2008 email, Green the offensive against his boss, crafted a series of memorandums, emails, reports, and projections that exposed inaccuracies and creative forecasting. This data enabled Green to build some alliances with other marketing personnel who used the data to ultimately side with him. On April 4th, it was announced that Frank Davis was being moved laterally to an undefined special project. However, Green's tactics were seen as overly brutal by many in the company, and although he won the battle against his boss, his career was irreparably harmed. McDonald distanced herself from him, By July of 2008, Green announced he was resigning from his position to pursue full-time studies for an MBA. We can only speculate what would have occurred if Green had tried to help Davis work out the discrepancies and problems with forecasts. Perhaps both would have succeeded.
Wow.
So,
Man, I love these. These are all plot twists.
Yeah.
Right.
spoiler alert: Snape killed Dumbledore. No, I'm just kidding.
One of my HR ones is like this lady was being it was like overheard about her being abused, and so this guy reported it, and then her husband like actually beat her, and then it was like really intense. I was like, dang, it's incredible. That was the best case I've ever had.
Jeez, wow.
Anyways, on that bombshell, anyone have any last comments on what we just read?
I was not expecting that.
Yeah, it looks pretty awesome, right?
Yeah.
So,
We're a lot smarter than most of the workforce.
Right.
yep, it's true. So what I learned, don't try to blame people. You know, I think more than anything, you know, if it's your fault, like take the blame. Don't try to craft something. You know, usually it's better just to be like, hey, this is my problem and this is what I messed up on. And like, I'm sorry. Than to try to come up with some plan because eventually you're just gonna get exposed.
Oh,
You know?
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, I know from personal experience when I was manager at the store I work at, and like someone came to me, even if it was like a pretty big mess up, like I was a lot more willing to work with the person if they told me about it and were like, how can I fix this, you know, and stuff like that, than if they were like, oh, I'm going to try and sweep this under the rug and hopefully no one notices. And then I come along and find it like, you know, a couple hours later and I'm like, what the heck did you do? You know, like,
Yeah.
it's just the whole situation. It's so much better when people come to you and say, look, I know I messed up, but let's fix it. It's just such a better work environment. Oh, man.
Yeah, man. Well, yeah, anyone have anything else to say or are we good?
We covered it.
I think we're good.
Good.
Awesome. Cool. So I just that's it.
Yeah, so you'll stop recording it and then it will save it as a video to like your YouTube channel or whatever.
And I copy it onto the discussion board.
Just make sure that you don't copy like the editing page. You copy like the actual like viewing as like a normal YouTube video page. And then you post it to the discussion board and then we're done.
Perfect.
Cool.
Cool.
Thanks for your time, guys.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Yeah, no
guys.
problem. Have a good one.
You there?
Bye.
See ya.